Needle Knight Leda is one of the new NPCs you'll encounter in Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, and an important person for getting started with the expansion. She's a staunchly devoted follower of Miquella, and has a group of compatriots she leads in following his footsteps across the Realm of Shadow. Throughout your journey, Leda will be there to guide you with letters dropped at key locations and physical encounters here and there. To complete her side quest, here's everything you need to know from where to find her, to the choices you'll face during her questline, and the outcomes of those decisions. Needle Knight Leda will be the first person you see before you jump into the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. You can find her at the Mohgwyn Dynasty Mausoleum in the Lands Between, which is located in the underground section of the map beneath Caelid. To begin the DLC, you'll need to have visited the Mohgwyn Dynasty Mausoleum and defeated Mohg, Lord of Blood. Doing so will unlock the Cocoon of the Empyrean Site of Grace, which is where you'll find Leda for the first time. She'll be gazing at the cocoon, where a withered arm hangs down. To begin the DLC, you'll need to touch the withered arm, but before you're transported to the Realm of Shadow, you'll want to talk to her first. In your first interaction with Leda, she'll ask you if Miquella has drawn you here, and then encourage you to touch the withered arm. Leda makes it clear during this encounter that she'll soon join you in the Shadow Realm, but also informs you that she has comrades you'll encounter as you make your journey who will be more than happy to help you. Once you've entered the Realm of Shadow, you'll be in Gravesite Plain. If you follow the main storyline in the first region that takes you northwest to Belorat first, you won't see Leda for a while. However, Leda will be there to guide you throughout the events of Shadow of the Erdtree with collectible notes. You don't need to think about Leda for a while until you finished up your exploration of Belorat Tower Settlement. After completing the Legacy Dungeon and killing the Divine Beast Dancing Lion, make your way out of the door to the east and ride the elevator up. At the top of this section, go to the end of the bridge and open up the door. You can then take the stairs up to the north. At the very top, the path will be blocked, but there will be a letter from Leda to collect. In this letter, Leda provides a hint that she's going east to the Tower of Shadow, and if you've been following the questline for Hornsent, you'll also have a map showing you the site of 3 crosses. One of the 3 crosses marked on the map can be found at Castle Ensis. This is east of Belorat and northeast of the 3-path cross site of Grace and straight over the Elet Great Bridge. Enter the castle and make your way to the Castle Ensis site of Grace. Here you'll find one of the Miquella crosses marked on Hornsent's map. Leda won't be there, but you'll find another letter from her. She'll tell you that she's on her way to Shadow Keep, which we can reach by going through Castle Ensis. When you reach the end of this dungeon and encounter R'hllana, she'll be available as an optional summon. After defeating R'hllana, you'll find Leda at the very first site of Grace just north of where you exit the boss room. And just northeast of her, you'll also find Hornsent once again. Upon talking to her, she'll ask if you've met everyone so far and tell you that in reality, the group of NPCs that are following Miquella's path should be fighting each other. But Miquella's charm has them working together somewhat harmoniously. If you've been talking to Hornsent, you'll have the opportunity to ask Leda to learn more about him. The same can be said about Dryleaf Dane, who you can meet at the site of Grace and Miquella's Cross just east of the one that you're currently at. And aside from some lore, there's little else you can get from Leda at this time, so you'll want to shift your focus on speaking to Hornsent. He'll be able to provide you with an updated version of his map showing the location of 4 more Miquella's Crosses. And from there, the conversation with Leda will run dry until you approach the Shadow Keep, which triggers the breaking of Miquella's Great Rune. This is when things will start to change drastically for the NPCs, as Miquella's enchantment over them has been broken. Speak to Leda after this event and she'll acknowledge that the enchantment is broken. Unlike some of the other characters, Leda remains devoted to Miquella, and in fact, her focus shifts. She's now willing to take down any of the group who she feels undeserving of following in Miquella's footsteps, or who she feels has any resentment towards him. Prompt a conversation with her again, and she'll tell you that she's going to begin immediately ferreting out the people who don't deserve to follow Miquella. This is where your first decision will appear, with Leda asking you to contribute and give your opinion on who you think she should begin with. The options are Teolia, Hornsent, or nobody. If you suggest Teolia, Leda will ruminate on his allegiance to St. Trina over Miquella, but will conclude that he's not a threat because of the dual nature of St. Trina and Miquella. If you suggest Hornsent, Leda will weigh up on the danger he presents. She'll say he's intent on vengeance, but also has to consider the promise that Miquella made to him. Once you suggested this to her, she'll ask for some time to consider it. After you've exhausted all of Hornsent's dialogue, rest at the Grace, talk to her again, and she'll say that she's committed to going after the Hornsent. And if you suggest no one, you'll exit out of the conversation. Though this seems to be the safest option, if you're not ready to accuse anyone immediately, it will leave the decision up to Leda. Unfortunately, this doesn't stop her from going after someone in the group. Suggesting no one but speaking to Hornsent and progressing the questline that sees him head for Shadow Keep to get his revenge will make Leda choose him to focus on. She's concerned that Hornsent will eventually try to take down Miquella if she doesn't get to him first. But she clarifies that if Hornsent can exact his revenge, it won't matter to her as much. If you talk to her again, she'll reveal that she believes Hornsent is aware of this and reiterates that she'll follow him and that the Hornsent will be found at the Black Keep. If you progressed Hornsent's questline and Leda has decided to pursue him, you'll have a chance to battle one of them at Shadow Keep. Once you've got to the main gate plaza, you'll work your way up to the storehouse front and come to a bridge that's lined with boats on fire. You'll be able to find 2 summoning signs in the south here, just after the set of stairs that go down. One is red and says that you can be summoned to help Needle Knight Leda, and one is golden where you can be summoned to help Hornsent. If you choose to help Leda, you can fight against Hornsent. Doing so will reward you with Hornsent's armor and his weapon. Return to speak to Leda after defeating Hornsent, and you'll also receive a lacerating cross tree talisman as a reward. Leda will then start to consider other comrades who potentially need eradicating. If you rest at the site of Grace or go somewhere else and come back, Leda will then say she's targeting Sir Ansbach. Alternatively, if you chose to help Hornsent, then you'll be fighting against Leda. Doing so will reward you with the Swift Slash Ash of War, as well as Leda's rune, which gives you 40,000 runes. If you choose to fight Leda, she'll disappear from the High Road cross site of Grace, and it will also lock you out of an encounter in Ansbach's questline. If you choose not to be summoned into either world and skip the fight, the questline can still progress, where Leda will stop targeting Hornsent if you summon him in the fight against Mesmer to help his questline move along. In this case, Leda will once again target Ansbach after shifting her focus from Hornsent. The encounter against Hornsent isn't the only one Leda can have, however. As mentioned, if you help Leda or skip the fight against Hornsent, Leda will start to target Ansbach. When this happens, you'll want to visit the storehouse first floor. Here, you'll find 2 summoning stones just like earlier, where the red one is to help Leda and the gold one is to help Ansbach. If you choose to help Ansbach, you'll be rewarded with Ansbach's longbow as well as Leda's rune, which again gives you 40,000 runes. And if you choose to help Leda, you'll still receive Ansbach's longbow, but instead of getting Leda's rune, you'll get Ansbach's armor set. Making this decision will lock Ansbach out from helping you later on in the game, but as long as you've given him the scroll as a part of his quest, you'll still receive help from a Sanguine Noble later on. Returning to Leda after defeating Ansbach will reward you once again with another talisman, which is the Retaliatory Cross Tree Talisman. And at this point, aside from a couple of other messages left at the remaining crosses in the Realm of Shadow, there's not much else to do with Leda's questline until you reach the end of the expansion in Anir Elim. No matter what choices you've made throughout her storyline, as you approach the top of the tower, Leda will be there waiting for you. She'll challenge you to a fight against her, Dryleaf Dane, and any of the allies that have chosen to stick with Miquella after the Great Rune breaks. Now, depending on your decisions, this encounter can just be Dryleaf Dane and Leda, but if you talk to Mor after the Great Rune breaks and choose Put It Behind You after exhausting his dialogue, he'll stick with Miquella and become a part of the encounter. If you give Redmane Freya the letter after completing Ansbach's quest, she'll also join the encounter. And Hornsent will join the fight if you don't eliminate him as a part of Leda's quest, or if you fail to complete his own quest. As for Teolir and Ansbach, they both decide not to stick with Miquella no matter what you do, but you can summon them as an ally if you complete both of their respective quest lines, and of course for Ansbach if you choose not to eliminate him as a part of Leda's quest. And as mentioned earlier, as long as you've at least progressed far enough in Ansbach's quest, you'll be able to summon a Sanguine Noble in his place if you chose to eliminate him as a part of Leda's quest. Of course, this boss fight can get a whole lot harder or a whole lot easier depending on who's a part of it, but after this final showdown, you'll receive the armor sets for any NPC that you killed as a part of that encounter. And that concludes Needle Knight Leda's quest in Shadow of the Erdtree. Thanks so much for watching. For more tips and tricks to enhance your journey in the Realm of Shadow, check out our growing wiki on IGN.com. And for everything else, stick with IGN.